functional. If they move too quick, oh well, they're falling down like a domino.
Cause your friends don't dance, and if they don't dance, well, they're no friends of mine.
The 1980s was a decade of excess, neon, and synthesizers blasting through car stereos across the world. MTV had changed the game, and suddenly a catchy hook paired with a weird music video could send a song straight to the top of the charts. In this era of big hair and bigger personalities, some of the strangest songs became the biggest hits. Songs about video games, ancient Egyptians, cheerleaders, mad scientists, and a certain classical composer turned rock star. Nobody expected these novelty tunes to compete with the serious rock anthems and power ballads of the day, but audiences couldn't get enough of them. Today, we're counting down 10 joke songs from the 80s that became global hits. If you're enjoying this deep dive into the story, hit the subscribe button and let us know in the comments from where in the world you are watching from today. Number 10, Pac-Man Fever by Buckner and Garcia. In late 1981, two songwriters from Georgia named Jerry Buckner and Gary Garcia walked into a shopping mall and couldn't get near the Pac-Man machine. There was a line of kids waiting their turn, each one feeding quarters into the machine like it was a slot machine in Vegas. Pac-Man mania was gripping America, and Buckner and Garcia saw something more than a game. They saw a song. The two had been writing commercial jingles and working on songs for other artists without much luck. When the Pac-Man idea hit, they ran with it. They sat down and wrote the song in about a week, but their real stroke of genius was incorporating actual sound effects from the arcade game into the recording. The waka waka noises, the power pellet chomp, and the death tune all made it onto the track. It might have been the first pop song to turn video game beeps into actual musical elements. They released it as a single on a tiny independent label and watched in disbelief as it started taking off at local radio stations. Within weeks, Columbia Records came calling and picked up the song for national distribution. Suddenly, Pac-Man Fever was playing everywhere. The single climbed to number 9 on the Billboard Hot 100 in March 1982 and sold over 1 million copies. Buckner and Garcia rushed out a full album also called Pac-Man Fever, with songs about every popular arcade game of the era. There was Froggy's Lament about Frogger, Ode to a Centipede about Centipede, and a track called Do the Donkey Kong. Buckner and Garcia were invited back to remaster the track for the occasion. Neither songwriter ever had another hit that came close to matching their yellow dot chomping phenomenon, but somewhere in an arcade at this very moment, a kid is probably humming that tune. Number 9, Mickey by Tony Basil. You've probably never heard of a British band called Racy. In 1979, they released a song called Kitty that went absolutely nowhere in America. Most people who heard it forgot it immediately, but across the Atlantic, a choreographer and dancer named Tony Basil heard something in that song. She thought it just needed to be completely reinvented. Basil was already an accomplished dancer and director. She had worked on movies like American Graffiti, performed with David Bowie on his Diamond Dogs tour, and directed music videos before music videos were really a thing. She changed the song's name from Kitty to Mickey, reportedly because she had a crush on Mickey Dolenz of the Monkees. She rewrote the lyrics, made them more aggressive, and came up with an idea that would transform the track forever. She'd record the whole thing as a cheerleader chant. Basil was 38 years old when she recorded it, which made what she pulled off next even more impressive. She directed her own music video, dressing in a full cheerleader uniform and performing with the actual Carson High School Colts cheerleading squad from California. The routines weren't fake. These were real, competition-level cheerleaders, and Basil's choreography was legitimately difficult. The finished product sat around for a couple of years before anyone knew what to do with it. Then MTV exploded. When the new cable channel needed videos to fill airtime in 1982, Basil's clever cheerleader routine was exactly the kind of visual treat they craved. They put it in heavy rotation. Mickey hit number 1 on the Billboard Hot 100 on December 11, 1982, but that one song about a boy named Mickey made her an immortal part of pop culture. Every time someone yells the word hey in a sports stadium, Tony Basil gets just a little bit more famous. Number 8. 867-5309 Jenny by Tommy Tutone. Picture this, a bathroom wall in a bar somewhere in California in 1981. Scrawled in permanent marker among the usual graffiti is a phone number with a simple promise. For a good time, call Jenny, 867-5309. That's the story songwriter Alex Call has told many times over the years about the origin of one of the most memorable songs of the early 80s. Call came up with the name Jenny and the phone number 867-5309 as a placeholder while working on a melody in his backyard. He just needed a 7-digit number that scanned properly with the music. Bandmate Jim Keller took the skeleton of the song and expanded it, adding the narrative about a shy guy finding a number written on a bathroom wall and working up the courage to dial it. The song was released in late 1981 by Tommy Tutone, a California rock band led by singer Tommy Heath. It climbed slowly at first. Then radio stations figured out something fun. They started encouraging listeners to call the number and see who would answer. This caused absolute chaos. The phone number 867-5309 existed in essentially every area code in America. People named Jenny, plus the other people who happened to have that number, got absolutely bombarded with calls at all hours of the day and night. Some callers would hang up, some would sing, some would ask for Jenny even when told no one by that name lived there. Hundreds of families changed their numbers to escape the harassment. One business owner in New Jersey claimed she received over 20 calls a night for weeks. Some businesses tried to embrace the chaos. A pizza restaurant in Buffalo got the number for marketing purposes. In 2014, a radio promotions company in Florida put the number up for sale with an asking price of nearly $1 million. 4 decades after Tommy Tutone scrawled it into history, those 7 digits still carry a premium price tag. Number 7. She Blinded Me with Science by Thomas Dolby. Thomas Dolby wasn't his real name. The English musician was born Thomas Morgan Robertson, but he adopted his stage name from the Dolby audio noise reduction system. That choice told you everything about the guy. He was a technology nerd to the core, obsessed with synthesizers, tape machines, and studio equipment long before it was cool to be obsessed with those things. In 1982, Dolby was working on his debut album when he came up with an idea for a song about a scientist who falls in love with his research assistant. But he had a twist in mind. He wanted to feature an actual scientist on the recording. He reached out to Dr. Magnus Pyke, a well-known British television personality who had spent decades making science entertaining for mass audiences through programs like Don't Ask Me. Pyke was famous for his enthusiastic presentation style and wild arm gestures. Pyke agreed to appear on the track, and his contribution became the most memorable element of the song. Throughout the recording, Pyke shouts single-word exclamations in his distinctive enthusiastic accent. The word science, shouted at maximum volume, became instantly quotable. For anyone who had grown up watching British educational television, hearing this respected scientist on a pop record was the musical equivalent of seeing a royal judge suddenly doing stand-up comedy. The music video pushed the concept even further. It featured Dolby being taken to something called the Home for Deranged Scientists, where Dr. Pyke appeared as himself, looking gleefully confused. It was perfect early MTV material, weird, quirky, visually striking, and completely unlike anything else on television. Released in late 1982, the song was a modest hit in the United Kingdom, but it exploded in America the following spring. She Blinded Me with Science reached number 5 on the Billboard Hot 100 in May 1983. Remarkably, it was Dolby's only top 40 hit in the United States, despite him having a long and respected career. The song became the musical shorthand for any movie or television scene involving a mad scientist or laboratory mishap. It has appeared in dozens of films and TV shows over the decades. Every chemistry teacher in America has probably played it at least once during a lesson. Number 6. The Safety Dance by Men Without Hats.
We can dance if we want to. We can leave your friends behind, 'cause your friends don't.
Even Dorashuk had a bad night at a club in Montreal. It was 1980 and the Canadian musician was trying to pogo dance, that up and down jumping motion favored by punk fans. The bouncers at the club didn't appreciate it. They thought pogoing was dangerous to other patrons and they kicked Dorashuk out. Most people would have gone home and sulked. Dorashuk went home and wrote a song about it. The song became a protest anthem disguised as a cheerful dance track. The lyrics were essentially arguing that people should be allowed to dance however they wanted. If your friends couldn't handle watching you pogo, then maybe they weren't really your friends. Dorashuk formed a band called Men Without Hats along with his brothers. The name supposedly came from an observation that wearing hats had gone out of fashion, which isn't particularly clever, but it was memorable and it stuck. The band recorded the Safety Dance in 1982. When they released it, they paired it with what became one of the most iconic music videos of the entire decade. Filmed in a small medieval English village called Wessex, it featured Dorashuk dancing through the countryside with a little person named John Gillies and a young woman named Louise Court performing a traditional Morris dance.
We can go if we want to.
The whole thing looked like a Renaissance fair had collided with a new wave concert. The video was everything early MTV wanted. It was eccentric, visually striking, and completely unlike anything else on television. MTV put it in heavy rotation and it helped propel the song up the charts. The famous hand signal dance, where viewers spelled out the letters SAFETY with their arms, became something everyone did at parties. The Safety Dance reached number 3 on the Billboard Hot 100 in September 1983. It hit number 1 in South Africa and reached the top 10 in numerous other countries including Germany, Australia, and the Netherlands. Sales topped 1 million copies in the United States alone. If you find this story engaging, please take a moment to subscribe and enable notifications. It helps us continue producing in-depth content like this. Number 5. Walk Like an Egyptian by the Bangles.
Paintings on the tomb, they do the stand dance, don't you know? If you move too quick,
Here's something that will make you look at pop history differently. The song that became the biggest hit of 1987 in America was almost recorded by Tony Basil. Yes, the same Tony Basil from number 9 on this list. Songwriter Liam Sternberg got the idea for Walk Like an Egyptian while riding a ferry across the English Channel. The sea was rough that day and the boat was rocking. Sternberg noticed that the passengers were walking with stiff, angular movements to keep their balance. The poses reminded him exactly of the figures painted on ancient Egyptian tomb walls, with their flat, two-dimensional profiles and bent elbows. Sternberg wrote the song and first offered it to Tony Basil. She passed. He then shopped it to a singer named Marty Jones, who recorded a version that sounded too earnest and folksy. Eventually, the song ended up with the Bangles, a Los Angeles all-female rock band that had been slowly building a career with their jangly guitars and tight harmonies.
and by the Nile, we got the money on a bet, called crocodiles.
The Bangles recorded their version in 1986. Each of the 4 band members except drummer Debbie Peterson sang lead on different verses. Peterson sang backup but didn't get her own solo verse because producer David Kahn reportedly didn't think her voice fit. That decision caused significant friction within the band and contributed to tensions that would eventually lead to their breakup a few years later. The song was released as the 4th single from their album Different Light. Against all expectations, it became their biggest hit by far. Walk Like an Egyptian reached number 1 on the Billboard Hot 100 in December 1986 and stayed at the top for 4 weeks. Billboard later named it the number 1 song of the entire year 1987. The music video featured the band performing the iconic arm-angled dance that immediately became a cultural phenomenon. Within weeks, teachers were complaining about students doing the walk in school hallways. Sports teams incorporated it into their victory celebrations. Drunk people at weddings discovered they could sort of approximate it after a few drinks. Then came the controversies. Radio stations around the world pulled the song from rotation during the Gulf War in 1991, concerned about airing an upbeat song mentioning Egypt during Middle East conflicts. They did it again during the 2003 Iraq War. But each time the controversies faded, the song came roaring back into rotation. 4 decades later, it remains one of the most played songs at wedding receptions in the Western world. Number 4. Wild Thing by Tone Loc. In In 1988, a rapper named Anthony Terrell Smith, who went by the stage name Tone Loc, walked into a small Los Angeles studio to record a demo. He was barely known, working with a tiny independent label called Delicious Vinyl. Producers Matt Dyke and Michael Ross had an idea that would completely change his life. They built the track around a sample from Van Halen's song Jamie's Cryin', slowing the distinctive guitar riff down and turning it into a hypnotic, swaggering groove. Then they had a 19-year-old songwriter named Marvin Young, who would later become famous as Young MC, write the lyrics. Young wrote about a guy who keeps finding himself in wild situations with various women. The lyrics were cheeky but not explicit. They landed somewhere between innocent and suggestive. Tone Loc delivered them with his deep, gravelly voice that sounded like he had been gargling cigarettes since he was a toddler. The recording was almost accidental. Tone Loc was initially only meant to be the demo singer for the song, recording a quick version so they could pitch it to someone more famous. But when Dyke and Ross heard his distinctive voice laid over that sample, they knew they had something special. They decided to release it as is. The song hit number 2 on the Billboard Hot 100 in March 1989. It was kept from the top spot only by Debbie Gibson's ballad Lost in Your Eyes. It sold over 2 million copies and made Tone Loc one of the first crossover rap stars, paving the way for artists like MC Hammer and Vanilla Ice to follow. Van Halen initially wasn't thrilled about the uncleared sample of their song. The matter was eventually settled with appropriate royalties paid, but the situation helped establish important legal precedents around sampling that would define hip-hop throughout the 1990s and beyond.
All week, 9 to 5 for my money. So the weekend comes,
Tone Loc followed up with Funky Cold Medina later that same year, written by the same team. That song reached number 3 on the Billboard Hot 100. But after those 2 massive hits, his music career cooled significantly. He transitioned into voice acting and appeared in numerous animated shows and films, including the popular movie Baby's Kids. His distinctive gravelly voice turned out to be perfect for cartoon characters, and he built an entire second career based on it. Number 3. Jackson was the biggest star on the planet in 1983. Thriller was breaking every sales record in the music industry. His videos were genuine cultural events. He was untouchable, and Weird Al Yankovic, a comedy musician who had been making parody songs for a few years with modest success, wanted to parody him. The problem was that Yankovic couldn't just record a Michael Jackson parody without permission. Out of professional courtesy and basic legal prudence, he reached out through intermediaries to Jackson's team to ask permission to create a parody of Beat It. What happened next surprised everyone. Michael Jackson personally said yes. Not only did he allow the parody, but he reportedly thought the idea was hilarious. According to Yankovic, Jackson loved the concept. Yankovic transformed Jackson's gritty tale of gang violence into a song about an exasperated parent trying to get their picky child to finish dinner. Yankovic recorded the song with guitarist Rick Derringer producing.
Have some more chicken, have some more pie, it doesn't matter.
Actually outperformed the original Beat It by a significant margin. It was a novelty record that had transcended novelty to become a legitimate pop phenomenon. The song won Yankovic a Grammy Award in 1985 for Best Comedy Recording. It cemented his place as pop music's most reliable parody artist, a title he has held for over 4 decades. Jackson's approval of Eat It opened doors for Yankovic with other artists, many of whom now saw being parodied by Weird Al as a kind of strange rite of passage. In a fascinating twist, when Jackson later declined to let Yankovic parody Black or White, suggesting the serious message of that song wasn't suitable for comedy, Yankovic's response was to pivot and parody Jackson's song Bad instead. The result was Fat. Jackson was so supportive of that concept that he even let Yankovic use the actual subway set from his Bad video for the Fat music video. It remains one of the most unlikely creative partnerships in pop music history. Number 2. Ghostbusters by Ray Parker Jr.
Something strange in the neighborhood.
When the movie Ghostbusters was preparing for release in the summer of 1984, director Ivan Reitman had a big problem. He needed a theme song, and he needed it fast. He had approached several artists, including Huey Lewis and The News, but none could deliver what he wanted in the time frame he needed. With the movie's release date rapidly approaching, he turned to Ray Parker Jr. Parker was already a successful songwriter, producer, and guitarist who had worked with Stevie Wonder, Barry White, and others. Reitman gave him just a few days to write something usable. Parker watched rough cuts of the movie and realized something immediately. The word Ghostbusters was nearly impossible to fit into a conventional song rhythm. It had 3 syllables in a strange pattern that refused to scan. Parker's solution was brilliant in its simplicity. Instead of trying to rhyme or sing the word, he built the entire song around a call and response structure. Someone would ask a question, a group of voices would shout the answer. That answer, of course, would always be Ghostbusters.
Who you gonna call? Ghostbusters! There's something weird.
He recorded the song in his home studio over a single weekend, borrowing rhythmic elements from dance music and funk. The whole thing came together remarkably quickly, which was necessary given the impossibly tight deadline the studio had given him. Released in June 1984, Ghostbusters reached #1 on the Billboard Hot 100 on August 11 and stayed at the top for 3 weeks. It sold over 2 million copies and became one of the biggest songs of the entire year. The movie it promoted, meanwhile, became the highest-grossing comedy of all time up to that point, and turned into a franchise that's still spawning sequels and spin-offs today. Then came the lawsuit. Huey Lewis and the News had released a song called "I Want a New Drug" the previous year. When Lewis heard Ghostbusters, he noticed striking similarities between his song's instrumental track and Parker's theme. Given that he had originally been approached to write the Ghostbusters theme before Parker, the situation looked suspicious. He sued, and the case was eventually settled out of court for an undisclosed sum with a confidentiality agreement.
Through your head. Who can you call?
Ghostbusters!
Years later, in a VH1 documentary interview, Lewis went on record essentially confirming that Parker had copied his song. Parker then sued Lewis for violating the confidentiality agreement of their settlement. The whole messy situation left a permanent cloud over one of the most beloved movie themes of all time. Parker never matched the commercial success of Ghostbusters. He remained active as a producer and guitarist, working with other artists throughout the following decades. But he's forever linked to one specific movie and one specific song that still gets played every single Halloween and every time a ghost appears on a movie screen anywhere in the world. #1. Rock Me Amadeus by Falco. An Austrian rapper singing in German about an 18th century classical composer. On paper, that idea sounds absolutely terrible. In 1986, it became the #1 song in America. Johann Holzel was an Austrian musician who took the stage name Falco as a teenager, borrowing it from an East German ski jumper named Falco Weissflog he had admired on television. Holzel was classically trained and had already scored a hit in continental Europe in 1982 with Der Kommissar, a German-language rap song about drug dealing that was later covered by the band after the fire. But Falco wanted to do something bigger, something that would break him through to the American market. In 1985, Falco was inspired by the film Amadeus, director Milos Forman's Oscar-winning biographical drama about Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart. Falco saw striking parallels between himself and Mozart. Both were Austrian, both had been child musical prodigies, both lived hard, partied harder, and generally behaved in ways their societies disapproved of. Falco decided to write a song that presented Mozart as the very first rock star, a rebellious genius who lived like a rock icon centuries before rock and roll existed. The song mixed German-language rap verses with a catchy English-language chorus that anyone could sing along to, regardless of what language they actually spoke. The production incorporated classical-sounding string arrangements alongside driving electronic beats and synthesizers, creating a sound that felt simultaneously historical and futuristic. It was like opera had collided with new wave music in the best possible way. Rock Me Amadeus was released in 1985 and climbed European charts gradually. When it finally broke through in America, it exploded. The song hit #1 on the Billboard Hot 100 on March 29, 1986, and stayed at the top for 3 weeks. Here's what made that moment historic. Falco became the first German-language song to ever reach #1 on the American charts. No German-speaking artist had ever pulled off that feat before. Very few have managed it since.
Ein Virtuose war ein Rockidol und alles rief, "Na komm and rock me."
The song topped charts all over the world. It hit #1 in the United Kingdom, Canada, Australia, and numerous other countries. Global sales exceeded 6 million copies. But in 1986, for 3 glorious weeks, an Austrian rapper singing mostly in German about a dead classical composer was the biggest musical phenomenon on the entire planet. It remains one of the most improbable #1 hits in American chart history. And there you have it. 10 songs from the 1980s that had no business becoming global hits, but somehow conquered the charts anyway. From arcade games to ancient Egyptians, from cheerleader chants to mad scientists, the 80s gave us some of the strangest songs ever to top the charts. What made that decade special was the willingness of audiences to embrace the weird and wonderful. MTV was hungry for visuals, radio programmers were willing to take chances, and record labels were throwing money at anything that might stick. In that environment, novelty songs could compete head-to-head with the most serious rock and pop anthems. These songs still show up everywhere today. They're in commercials, movies, TV shows, sports stadiums, wedding receptions, and streaming playlists. They defined their era, and they refuse to let go of our collective memory. If you enjoyed this trip through 80s music history, make sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel for more stories about the music that shaped our lives. What's your favorite 80s novelty song? Did we miss one that you still sing along to whenever it comes on the radio? Let us know in the comments below. Thanks for watching. Thank you for watching. For more detailed historical breakdowns, check out the other videos on your screen now, and don't forget to subscribe.
Jenny, Jenny, who can I turn to?